Welcome back. Today you are going to learn about one NLP strategy or procedure that I have used and that created an immense breakthrough on the specific client I invented that with. Of course, that technique is not completely my invention. I took inspiration from other NLP techniques that exist out there, but this one just came to me intuitively with that client. Back then, I think it was around 2019 back in Thailand, I had a guy in a session who was in a big trouble to figure out a life path, or more specifically a career path for himself. He had been trying a million different things. He had been into crypto back in London. He had been building several websites, and all the time the same story was happening. He was having a blast, improving, and then a massive crash, and boom, he would lose everything. He even said that he had attended a Tony Robbins seminar, and he said the quality was great of the seminar, but he said I had so much shit inside that it barely just made me heal, but didn't make me improve on the physical things around me, like more the career, which is more physical than just internal healing. He said none of that changed. I healed a bit with Tony Robbins, but none of the other things have changed. And I had a 1 hour and a half session with him. At some point, I noticed that guy was incredibly advanced on auditory, not reframing, auditory, let's say, bullshitness. Like whatever plan could be put in place, he had an excuse. Oh, it's not possible. Oh, but I'm not. Nah. Oh, but it's not because. And also he was very insecure. He was massively overweight, which he didn't wish to work on at this moment. Maybe that was the priority, but the client is choosing his goal, so I didn't push on that either. Whatever was the reason, he was just finding a million different excuses for, yeah, but this won't work, yeah, but this doesn't work. And at some point, I had the idea of asking him, do you have any person in your family or in your entourage who doesn't know excuses? Who doesn't know what excuses are? The kind of, David Goggins character, that guy who's doing 1,000 push-ups every morning and like, yeah, no pain, no gain. I don't particularly like those guys, but let's say this matters right here. Do you know anyone like this? And he said, oh yeah, definitely my uncle. My uncle is like, my uncle from the father's side, he's definitely like that. I said, fine, can you stand up for a minute? He stood up here, and I said, can you imagine your uncle, the one who is no prisoner, tough guy kind of person, is just in front of you. You visualize that. You imagine that your uncle is just in front of you. And tell me the main things you say about this career path not being possible for you. You can't do this because you're not competent enough. You wanted to join this business venture, but the wave has been falling down. So now there are no opportunities anymore. The economy is crashing. He had a million different excuses for not possible, not doable. I said, okay, can you have a conversation with your uncle, imaginary of course, with this? Imagine you say this. What would your uncle tell you? And the uncle, obviously, the imaginary uncle, obviously had a massive reframe, stop the bullshit, just do it, kind of line. And I said, oh, okay, he would say this, and then what would you reply? And the guy said, oh, I would reply, yeah, that sounds great, but I can't because there are too many competitors and it's impossible to compete on that. Okay, fine. What would your uncle say to this? And we just went back and forth like this for I think 15 minutes, up to the point where the guy went, he didn't have any more answers to say, any more excuses, and long story short, he ended up writing a whole book that really made him not change entirely his career, but made him way more productive. The fact of writing this book didn't change everything about his life, but at least it gave him a structure because he put in place a productive schedule to always work at the same time every morning, and that gave him a lot of improvements into his professional life. So the great thing about this is I didn't have to reframe myself, I just made him reframe himself the whole time. So I didn't have to use slide of mouth, I just made him debate on himself with himself with slide of mouth somehow. I should have recorded that conversation, if possible. And in the end, he just reframed all of his excuses. So that is what I call like the last excuse exercise, the last excuse NLP procedure. And I repeated that with some other clients. It really worked magical, specifically because you don't try to reframe yourself what the client says. You make them use a source of reframing that belongs to their life. If it is your uncle, if it is your cousin, if it is a teacher you had in high school, whatever, just somebody you have really known and that you know that guy was either the tough guy kind of person or just somebody who was really clever with reframing, who always had the answer to everything or the counter argument to everything. Once you have one person like this in your life, and if there is no one, okay, I have other techniques to deal with that anyway, but when the client has one person like this they can mention, you just make them debate with themselves. And that's the beauty of it. You don't even need to argue with anything. You make them debate with themselves. And then boom, you're over. Anyway, that is one of the NLP strategies I give in the 11 strategies you can find down below. The 11 strategies I have either invented or developed by mixing several techniques together for maximum efficiency. And I have selected them based on what did I notice was creating the biggest breakthroughs either in my life or in the life of people like this guy that I helped down the road. And I only selected the ones that really made the biggest impact. The goal of that is, if you are a newcomer, if you are a newbie, or if you have a bit of experience but NLP is still really confusing for you, with those 11 techniques you only have what works best from experience, not from intellectualization, but from real experience, real life experience, what works best. And you can follow all of them as if you were the client yourself. You apply all of them on yourself one by one. It is pretty easy. 2 or 3 of them are based or a guided, kind of a guided trance meditation, where you close your eyes and you experience all the changes. Some of them are just language patterns to apply one by one. And you can just follow all of that. Notice what produced the biggest shift on you, and then only use that with the clients you will work with in turn. When you only use the things that made a big impact on you, you will be much more convinced and influential because you will have this conviction it is gonna work. The conviction that something is gonna work is more important than the technique itself, than the words you say it's by themselves, because that sense of conviction of, okay, that had a big impact in my life, I know it's gonna work, now close your eyes, do this. When you instruct somebody's unconscious mind from that sense of self-confidence, their mind is moving on anyway. Even if you miss a few sentences, you missed a few suggestions, whatever. What matters more, in my opinion, is the sense of conviction you have as the coach, as the therapist, that the change will work and will happen. So if you want to develop that level of mastery and self-confidence, you have those 11 strategies down below in the description, and I hope to see you there on the other side. Thank you for listening, good luck on your projects, and no more excuses, goodbye!